You've seen the videos. The guy with a rented Lumbo in the background, promising you can make thousands of dollars overnight with zero effort. Let's be real. Most of that is a fantasy designed to sell you a crazy expensive course. I got tired of the hype, so I decided to put my own money on the line to find out what actually works. I invested in real estate and other assets to see if I could separate the facts from the fiction. In this video, I'm pulling back the curtain to show you the unfiltered results. These are the strategies that are generating real, reliable income for me, month after month. And I'm not just showing you the wins. I'm talking about the upfront costs, the mistakes that made my stomach drop, and the hard lessons I learned along the way. Forget the fantasy. This is the reality of building passive income. Setting the stage. First, let's clear the air. The term passive income is a little misleading. Not one of the strategies I'm about to share was 100% passive from day one. Every single one required a ton of work up front. We're talking research, saving up capital, and a healthy dose of anxiety. But they all share one beautiful trait. The work I did in the past is paying me today with very little effort to maintain it. That is the real goal of passive income. Doing the work once and getting paid for it over and over again. So, let's get into the actual strategies I used, starting with the one that's most accessible for just about anyone. 1. The foundation, boring but brilliant dividend investing. My journey into passive income didn't start with a house. It started on my laptop with about $1,000. The first real, hands-off income one ever earned came from dividend stocks. Here's how it works in the simplest terms. When you buy a dividend stock, you're buying a tiny piece of a huge, established company. Because you're a part owner, the company mails you a check, figuratively, for a share of its profits, usually every 3 months. It's one of the purest forms of passive income because once you own the stock, the money just shows up in your account. When I started, I didn't try to pick hot stocks. That's a game for experts, and I'm not one of them. Instead, I invested in dividend ETFs or exchange-traded funds. Just think of an ETF as a pre-packaged basket that holds hundreds of different dividend-paying stocks. This instantly diversifies your investment and lowers your risk. My strategy was dead simple. I set up an automatic investment every single month into a low-cost dividend ETF. For the first year, the income was a joke, maybe enough to buy a fancy coffee. It was not glamorous, but I stuck with it and reinvested every single dividend to buy more shares. Over time, compounding started to work its magic. That tiny stream has now grown into a few $100s of completely passive income every month. To get a little fancier, I also added real estate investment trusts, or REITs. These are companies that own big-time real estate like apartment buildings, shopping malls, or data centers. Buying a REIT is like becoming a landlord without ever having to deal with tenants or toilets. You buy shares just like a stock, and you get paid dividends from all the rent the company collects. REITs often have dividend yields in the 35% range and are an awesome way to get into the real estate game with very little money. Let's rate this strategy. Passivity, 10 over 10. Once you set it up, it's completely hands-off. Upfront capital, 2 over 10. You can seriously start with less than $100. Income potential, 4 over 10. This is a slow burn. It won't make you rich overnight, but its reliability is off the charts. 2. The next level, real estate crowdfunding. After my dividend portfolio was humming along, I wanted a bigger piece of the real estate pie, but I wasn't ready to buy a whole property. That's when I stumbled upon real estate crowdfunding. The idea is pretty cool. A professional real estate company finds a big project, like building a new apartment complex. Instead of getting one giant loan from a bank, they raise money by pooling smaller investment from regular people through an online platform. In return, investors get a share of the profits, usually paid out every quarter. I have to be honest, I was deeply skeptical. It sounded a little too good to be true. I spent months digging into different platforms before I finally felt comfortable making a move. I started small, putting $1,000 into a fund that was building apartments in a fast-growing city. For a few months, crickets. But then, the first quarterly payment hit my bank account. Then the next. The beauty of this is that it's almost completely passive. A team of pros handles everything. The construction, finding tenants, all the legal stuff. I just checked my bank account. Over the past few years, I've invested in a few more of these, and it's become a really solid part of my monthly income. But it's not perfect. The biggest drawback is liquidity. Unlike stocks, you can't just sell your investment in a day. You're usually locked in for 3 to 10 years, so you should only invest money you know you won't need anytime soon. Let's rate this one. Passivity, 9 over 10. You do your homework up front, but then it's a waiting game. Upfront capital, 5 over 10. Minimums often start around $500 to $5,000. More than stocks, but way less than a down payment. Income potential, 7 over 10. The returns are often designed to be significantly higher than public stocks. By the way, if you're getting value from this no-hype breakdown, do me a solid and hit that like button. It tells the YouTube gods that you want more real-world advice, not another guru fantasy. And drop a comment below. What's the most ridiculous passive income claim you've ever heard? I'm genuinely curious. 3. The Big Leap, my first rental property. All right, this is the one. The final boss of passive income, buying a physical rental property. For years, this felt totally out of reach, intimidating, expensive, and risky. But it also has the highest potential for both cash flow and building serious long-term wealth. After saving like a madman for 2 years, I was finally ready to pull the trigger. The process was anything but passive. First, the hunt. I spent 6 months glued to my screen, analyzing neighborhoods and running numbers. I put in offers on 4 different houses before one was finally accepted. Then came the money part. The down payment was the biggest check I'd ever written in my life. And it didn't stop there. There were closing costs, inspection fees, and a budget for immediate repairs. The unfiltered truth is you always need more cash on hand than you think. The first 6 months were a trial by fire. I got a call on a Saturday morning about a leaky dishwasher. I had to scramble to find a plumber I could trust. I realized very quickly that being a landlord isn't a passive investment. It's a part-time job. So I made the single most important decision in this entire process. I hired a property manager. It costs about 8 to 10% of the monthly rent, but they handle everything. Finding tenants, collecting rent, and dealing with those Saturday morning phone calls. That's the key to making this passive. So let's look at the real numbers. After the mortgage, taxes, insurance, and the property manager's fee, the property generates about $400 in cash flow every month. That might not sound life-changing, but here's the magic happening in the background. My tenant is paying down my loan for me, building my equity. The property itself is going up in value, and I get major tax benefits. So let's rate it. Passivity, 3 over 10 without a manager, 8/10 with one. Upfront capital, 10 over 10. This requires a serious chunk of cash. Income potential, 9 over 10. When you do it right, it's an absolute wealth-building machine. 4. What I'm not doing and why. You might be wondering why I haven't talked about things like Airbnb. While the potential income is huge, my research showed me it's the opposite of passive. You're basically running a small hotel with constant guest turnover, cleaning schedules, and messaging. It's a great business, but it wasn't the hands-off income one was aiming for. I also stay far away from anything pitched as easy money, like filling out online surveys or dropshipping businesses that supposedly run themselves. Real, sustainable passive income is almost always tied to owning a valuable asset, whether it's a piece of a company or a piece of land. So, after all that, what's the unfiltered truth? Building real passive income isn't easy, and it's definitely not fast. It takes time, money, and the guts to learn from your mistakes. There are no shortcuts. My journey started small with dividend ETFs, which I genuinely believe is the best place for anyone to start. From there, I leveled up to real estate crowdfunding for better returns. And finally, I took the plunge into owning a property, which has had the biggest impact on my financial life. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't need to buy a house tomorrow, but you do need to start. Pick one of these ideas, the one that fits your budget and comfort level, and just commit to learning about it. Open a brokerage account and buy one share of a dividend ETF. Taking that first, small step is everything. The guru fantasy of getting rich for free is a lie. But the reality, that you can build a system where your money truly works for you is very, very real. It just takes putting in the work up front. If you want to follow my journey and see how these investments actually perform over time, make sure to subscribe. I post regular, transparent updates on my portfolio. And check out this next video where I break down exactly how I analyze a rental property to make sure it will be profitable from day one. Thanks for watching.